This is a shorter story, but one that will always stick with me. When I was a little girl, I would often have nightmares, and afterwards would run across the hallway to my parents' room to sleep with them. One night, after a terrible dream, I went to the room only to find the door locked. I banged on the door crying that I was scared. My dad then said, "Come on in, the door is unlocked." I tried and I tried, but the doorknob wouldn't turn. While waiting for my dad to unlock the door, I glanced down the hallway into the living room. I saw the figure of a man getting up out of the rocking chair and coming towards me. Just as I screamed, my dad opened the door. I ran and jumped into the bed, telling my parents what happened. I've been around ghosts my entire life, for as long as I can remember. My house has had several unexplainable things happen. Doors open and close on their own when no windows are open. Lights will flicker and blow out only in certain parts of the home. We have used the same lamps in other parts of the home, the same type of bulb from the same box with no problems. When I was a child growing up with my older brother, we shared a room together. We were always told to clean our rooms before supper, and we always did. Every night when we went to bed, our rooms were nearly spotless, but every morning, when we woke up, our rooms would be a mess. When my parents asked me about it, I told them I was a ninja, big Ninja Turtles fan, and they asked what I was talking about. I told them it was a man dressed in black, and he was messing everything up. After my older brother moved out, we switched rooms since ours was bigger. In the room I have now, arguing can be heard from the restroom, which was never repaired when we got the home. The arguing goes on for about 3 or 4 minutes, getting louder and softer at times, which always ends with a muffled shout and scream. After about 15 minutes afterwards, you can hear sobbing. My younger brothers hear it too, but my parents remain skeptics. They don't want to scare them. Now that I mention the imps, my friends and I have heard about the Jewish graveyard on Sand Ridge Road in Ferguson Valley, Lewistown, Pennsylvania, which is only a few miles away from where we live. We've had so many experiences there, but since this email is already long enough, I just want to let you know I've had experiences with this stuff throughout my life. I will get to the point now. The graveyard started out with nothing there, but as we went there more and more, we saw more. I haven't gone back there the last time we were there. My friend Jim was in 3 different places at once. We spotted creatures just as you described, being around the apparition that appeared in your home. There's more to the story, but I don't want to waste your time explaining all of this. If you heard about the graveyard before, the last time we were there is the last time I'll go there at night. My girlfriend and I drove past it 2 weeks ago, about 2 months since the last time we were there, and we saw a young boy dressed in early 1900s style clothes with a brown shirt, a brown vest, and a brown hat. I've been over there over a dozen times, and never have I seen anything outside of the gates. It was the belief of my friends and I that they could not leave the gates, because they never had before. But the child was crouched down on the edge of the ridge outside, as if waiting for us. This was nearly 2 in the morning, and it was raining, but the child did not appear wet, and I'd say that they appeared around 8 or 9 years old. My husband and I lived at the house for 1 year and had several experiences. Our apartment covered 2 floors, the 3rd and the 4th. The living area, kitchen, etc. was on the 3rd floor, bathroom and 2nd bedrooms on the 4th floor. It started slowly, like after I had gone to bed. My husband would think that I was awake because he had heard someone walking out of the bedroom. The TV and clock radio would turn on and off by itself, sometimes change stations. The bathroom door would sometimes open by itself. One time, after getting out of the shower, there was a 3-dimensional image in the mirror of a man in a sports coat. You can't see a face, but you can make out the shoulders, the lapel, and even that one button is buttoned. We happened to take a picture of it actually. It's hard to make out because it's a mirror, but you can see that it isn't something we can draw in the mirror ourselves. One time I felt what I thought was my husband sneaking into bed, as to not disturb me. I felt the weight of his body behind me, and then the weight of his arm over my waist, just holding me. My heart was racing like I'd never felt before. I reached my leg back to touch him, and everything vanished instantly. Another time, my husband was getting ready to come upstairs to bed, and thought that I was trying to scare him by the stairs, so he slowly crept up the stairs. When he got to the top, he saw a large black shadow hovering at the top of the stairs. Then it vanished in front of him. He saw that shadow again at the foot of our bed. When I told my daughter, who was out of state at college, she said we all knew something was there. It's about time that we saw it. The next time that she came home, she saw it out of the corner of her eye. When we moved out of the apartment, we had 2 last trips to the truck, and we went to get the last box. The door was locked. We didn't lock it. So I have a story about ghostly lights. The lights I'm going to try to explain have more to do with me, I believe, than a particular place. About 17 years ago in Texas, I came home from work, and as always, Danny, my Pomeranian, was jumping and yapping, happy to see me. He followed me into my bedroom where I sat on the edge of the bed, removing my shoes. On the floor appeared 3 tiny white lights in the form of a triangle, moving slowly in front of me. Danny saw them and sniffed them, his ears packed, and he ran out of my room. I watched these lights move for about 20 seconds, and then they were gone. I ruled out every possible source I can think of. The blinds were always kept closed in my room. It spooks me still. There was an instance when my daughters and I watched the lights move in the corner ceiling of the living room. I ran to get the camera, but the pictures came back. Nothing appeared on the numerous prints. We all saw the lights, and about 4 weeks ago, it happened again, only this time, I'm in Minnesota. I was sitting in my room on the bed, watching TV, when I had this urge to open my door, like I felt something was on the other side. I opened the door, my eyes focused on the floor, because I expected one of the cats to be there. A light on the floor, about the size of a teacup, moved slowly into the room. Again, the blinds are always closed in my room. A few days later, my 13-year-old fell asleep in a recliner and woke to hear voices whispering incoherently behind the chair. She said she picked up a book and threw it into the air and told whatever it was to please shut up. But the whispering continued until she went into her bed. I never said a word about the light I saw either. It all disturbed me so much. I had to find a medicine man and ask him to please advise. Often, I can smell freshly brewed coffee or something delicious cooking, but visual occurrences are extremely rare for me. I do believe in ghosts. Black Forest, Colorado. It isn't just a Lee residence. I just wanted to say that I'm enjoying your website. I was personally a visitor of the Lee residence when he wanted me to clean his house. My sister-in-law went with me. I was halfway up the stairs. She was at the bottom, and we both got extremely warm for a period of 3 to 5 seconds. Well, we couldn't get out fast enough. This home is also known for faces appearing in the mirrors, locking people in the rooms, and ghosts standing over you. Very creepy. Most of Black Forest is haunted. A little known fact is the Native Americans, long before the white man arrived, said it was evil. They had a pathway of bent trees marked through the Black Forest. It was the fastest trail to cross through. It always has been eerie. The property I grew up on is behind the Black Forest store. Nobody has ever been able to walk down the driveway from the store to the house at night without feeling as if someone were about to eat you alive. It is horrifying, and as soon as you get to the light at the house, it goes away. Orbs are in every picture we have taken there. I have several pictures with ghosts in them. They've been seen, heard, felt, and even smelled there. And you'll hear stories like these from any long-term resident. And the new people wonder what's wrong with the place. My family alone could keep you busy with stories for a week about Black Forest near Colorado Springs, Colorado. I grew up in suburban Illinois and have had a great many experiences throughout my life, currently 24. As a child, 5 through 10, I've had many experiences seeing floating faces and heads in my parents' home. One night, I woke up around 1 a.m. Whenever I wake up in the middle of the night, I would walk over to my parents' bedroom to get back to sleep. I felt safer there. Our bedrooms were all on the 2nd floor. As I walked up to their bedroom, I noticed a white object over the staircase, floating at about my height. I wasn't sure what I was seeing, so I walked down the staircase to see what it was. I looked up at it and saw nothing but a floating white cloud. At this point, that was when I realized I could go through it, and nothing was holding it up. I ran screaming to my parents' room. Another time, I was sleeping over in my cousin's house, about age 12. I was always the last to fall asleep, and I hated it since I was always scared of the dark. An hour or so after everyone else fell asleep, 2 cousins, 1 brother, an aunt and uncle in another room, I heard the back door, along with the screen door, open and close. I heard several people walk into the home talking loudly, although I couldn't make out what they were saying. They all walked into the room we were sleeping in and continued to talk, and otherwise make lots of noise. I hid under the blankets until the noise stopped. I never slept over there, ever again. My name is Karen, and I live in a small town on the coast in North Carolina. I've always been sensitive to paranormal occurrences. It began when I was small, and my imaginary friend was actually my mother's cousin, who had died nearly 12 or more years earlier. I told her his name, what he looked like, how he died, everything. That was just the beginning. Then, when I was about 13, we moved into the home my grandfather grew up in. My house is between 80 and 90 years old. My grandfather and his 13 brothers and sisters grew up there. My great-grandfather actually died in what is now our living room. My sisters and I have experienced many creepy things. Take me. I've actually seen my great-grandfather standing over me. I was sleeping on the couch in the living room, in the exact place where he died, and suddenly, I woke up, saying something odd, and as my eyes began to adjust to the light in the room, I saw the apparition of my great-grandfather. He looked exactly like he did in the picture of him we have hanging in our entranceway. He actually looked multicolored, like when the TV scrambles and you see all sorts of colors. When I was fully awake, he disappeared. Needless to say, I was absolutely terrified, but I actually stood there trying to rationalize what had just happened after everything occurred. I also didn't like to be alone in my house at night, especially if I have to go upstairs. It's not that I feel unsafe, but I always feel like someone is directly behind me, breathing on my neck. My sister lived with us with her son for a year, while her husband was away at boot camp. Her son was maybe between 1 or 2, and we constantly heard soft humming coming from his room. When we put him to bed, he would sit in the hallway, staring at the wall laughing and babbling to someone he called Big Mama. We asked my grandfather about it, and he said they used to call his mother Big Mama. No one had ever told any of us that, and we definitely didn't tell my nephew about it. While they lived with us, my sister was really screwed around with. She went to the kitchen late one night to get a drink, and when she opened the freezer to get some ice, she heard the sound of what she described as a woman's high heels, like they were in the 40s, bigger, clunky heels, and the footsteps stopped at the edge of the kitchen door, and then directly behind my sister. She heard in a whispered voice, "Shh." She ran out of the kitchen, leaving the fridge open, and jumped on the couch where my mom was sleeping. She also was always awakened to a woman's voice softly calling out her name. One night she had gotten fed up with being woken up, and she sat up in bed and said, "Great Grandma, please let me sleep. Just let me go to sleep." From that night on, she never heard her name being called again. It's not only the family that gets messed with, it's our friends too. Once, my sister had a boyfriend that stayed the night and slept on the couch where my Uncle Ty had always slept before he passed away. Lee, the boyfriend, kept on having his feet thrown off the couch. Being in the middle of sleep, he didn't really regard it as anything until he finally woke up to his feet being held up in the air and his legs being twisted back and forth. My college roommate recently came home with me and slept in one of the rooms upstairs. It used to be my room, but that room never even got warm, even in the summer when the upstairs of our old house is blistering hot. It remains cool. Anyway, she woke up in the middle of the night to see a man lying on the floor with his hands behind his head. He never moved, but he just stared at her. When he disappeared, she got up and turned on the lights and slept with them for the rest of the night. I could really go on and tell you even more stories, but I think I've written enough. I hope you enjoy my stories, and believe me, these are true. I wouldn't have spent so much time typing them out if they were fake. I love the fact that our house is haunted. I feel privileged. And it seems that every time one of my grandfather's brothers or sisters passes away, our house receives more activity. They are all just coming back home, I guess. Pretty short story, but I think it's worth mentioning. Our family moved to this old house about 5 years ago. It is located in Ray, Michigan, a small town, of course. The house itself had some very scary and bizarre occurrences. Pictures fell off walls, objects and small items were constantly moved around, and we somehow managed to get ourselves locked out of the house for about 45 minutes. The odd thing about that moment was, we had never locked the doors previously, and even if we did, we had the keys. My family and I were trying to open the door with the keys, but somehow, the keys wouldn't even work right. So eventually, we were able to get into the house via an open window. Other things also happened, such as money would mysteriously just vanish and then go missing. It would then appear in another place shortly afterwards. Pretty bizarre. Of course, all these instances forced us to have a priest come bless the home. We also came out to find out some disturbing details about ghosts who live here. One of them is a woman who seems to be living in a crawl space under the mudroom, as well as the rest of the basement. The mudroom and basement are combined. What was intriguing was the door. The door of the crawl space kept falling off, but after the priest blessed it, the door stayed on. I can't really put my finger on it. We have also seen another figure in the home. Have seen her face actually. She's a young girl, dressed from the 1950s, hair like the 50s. This house was built in 1928, but I'm not too sure about what was here before, or who did even live here in the past. I know that this house used to be a part of a farm. Don't know any of the history around here either. I know this sounds crazy, and at first, I was a little nervous about all the creepy things going on in here. But this young girl doesn't seem to be doing anything real harmful. She's more prone to being a prankster and playing tricks. The other woman in the mudroom, I can't say for sure. I try to stay as far away as I can. That's the story. Hey guys, so again, I encourage you guys, if you haven't left a comment on this video, leave a comment right now. It can be anything just for the algorithm, and if you do it as soon as possible, then the worlds will collide, and everybody can enjoy ghost stories that you may have not heard before. Yay, and you guys can share it, and you guys can like the video. Do it all right now. Stop what you're doing and do it all. Okay guys, but I really appreciate you, especially for the 30K that I'm on the verge of hitting, so thank you guys so much. I love you, and I'll see you in the next video. Waha!